Hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This is a channel where I like to make book videos as well as videos on homeschooling, mostly book related. So thank you for stopping by. So today I'm gonna do a try a chapter video. I've really enjoyed watching a lot of these types of videos on BookTube. So this video is gonna have the theme of newbie fantasy books, because in my New Year's book tag, I had talked about what genre do I want to try to get into this year, and I said fantasy because I'm just curious if I will like it. I like Harry Potter, I like Lord of the Rings, and so I got some great recommendations. So those are the ones I requested from my library, and I'm going to try 4 of them today. To get started, I have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So this was recommended to me by Brittany over on Plants and Paperbacks. She said, based on the fact that I like historical fiction, that I might really like this. The basic premise of A Darker Shade of Magic is that there are different Londons. There's the red London, the black London, the gray London, and the white London, and they all have different aspects to them. Either no magic or lots of magic, or a very sad place to live or a very happy place to live is kind of the gist of what I get of this. And then there's some people, some magicians. There's only a few magicians that can travel between the worlds, and we follow a character called Kel. It looks like he is an ambassador but also a smuggler, and so I think that's probably where the action comes into and the trouble comes in. So let me see about trying this, and then I will get back to you based on what I think of the first chapter. Okay, so let me get comfortable. Okay, so I read the first chapter, and it sounds really intriguing. It seems to be about him traveling from red London into gray London and meeting with a king. And so it kind of shows that ambassador part of his magic and role. And then it seems like there's something urgent he's after, and so that's where he is going at the end of the chapter. So far I like the writing style, and I'm curious about the magic. So this could be a really good choice. So we'll see. I like this one so far. Okay, so the second book I was recommended was Laundress by Brandon Sanderson. I was recommended this by Angela at Literature Science Alliance, and she said that this was a good one if I wanted to try some high fantasy, which I actually don't even know what high fantasy means, but I was intrigued by it, and she had a couple others on her list as well that looked good. This was just the first one that came in at the library, so I'm going to give this one a shot. And I was just looking at the back cover, and it doesn't even really describe what the book is about. It just says that it's his debut novel, so I'm guessing it's his first book. And I have heard his name from a lot of other BookTube channels, so I'm curious. So I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'll let you know what I think. Okay. So, all right. Okay, so I finished my first chapter. Actually, the prologue plus the first chapter, because the prologue wasn't too long. It basically just described the city, Laundress, which I learned that was what this represents a city that used to be a place of honor and beauty and healing, and people who were selected to inhabit the city were kind of treated as gods, and that's what it used to be. And so the first chapter follows the main character. I think he's going to be the main character, Rodin, who was selected to enter Laundress now. But it's not as it used to be. It's now more of a city of death, and people who are dead but can't really die and feel pain forever, or something to that notion. And so, yeah, it's an intriguing premise. I'm not quite sure what the story is going to be like totally, but that first chapter of kind of setting up the city is interesting. So it's a good option. My third book, or my third recommendation, was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This was recommended to me by Michelle over at Bookishly Michelle. And she did say that it is tough to recommend fantasy. It's a tough genre to recommend because there's just so many options and so many different particulars about it. But she said she really liked these, so it was a good one to potentially start with. And I believe it's the beginning of a series. So again, I don't really know much about it. What I can get from the inside cover is that it looks like it's about a school, a private school for boys, and these boys are called the Raven Boys, but it's about this girl named Blue, and somehow she gets taken into the world of the Raven Boys. So yeah, that sounds interesting. Let me just take a quick read through the first chapter, and I will be back to tell you what I think. Okay. Let me find. Okay, so I finished the first chapter. It is not what I expected. For some reason, I wasn't expecting a story to be in kind of our world, but the first chapter mentions Walmart, so that's kind of fun. And it really just talks about this girl's family being able to see the future, being clairvoyant, and predicting that she would fall in love, but the man she loves, if she kisses him, it kills him. And so she kind of muses through the fact that she's never going to fall in love. She's just never going to let that happen. And then at the end of the first chapter, her aunt comes and is like, this year, you're going to fall in love. So that's how it ends. So I think that sounds really, really cute. I have no idea where it's going to go because it definitely didn't take any, didn't give any information on this kind of school or the Raven Boys yet, but sounds like a good option. So the fourth book I was recommended is this beast. He only actually recommended the first book, but it happens to be a trilogy, and the only copy my library had was the one containing all of them, and it's actually illustrated, so it's extra hefty. But it's called The Books of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. Ursula K. Le Guin. And this was recommended to me by Joseph Burton, and he said that he doesn't really read a lot of fantasy, but he read this as a teenager, and he thought it was really thought-provoking. So I like that idea, so I'm gonna check out the first chapter of this book. Again, I'm not quite sure what it's about, but again, it doesn't actually say. Again, so I'm just gonna try it, see what happens, and I will let you know how the first chapter goes. Okay. All right. This is so heavy. All right. Okay. So I finished the first chapter. It sounded really good. It had, it kind of reminded me more of like the Lord of the Rings, like more like an epic journey. And so there's this, you meet a boy and he discovers that he has powers and his aunt helps him foster some of the magic. And then at the end of the first chapter, he has this man who is taking him on as a mentor, and he's taking him away from his village to train him. To what, I'm still not sure, or even what the kind of like journey is or the ultimate bad guy is in this, but it does sound really good. It's definitely something that I will read or I want to read. Okay, so that's the fourth one. I honestly don't know what to choose. I'm leaning towards either this one or this one. I know it's not, I'm not intending to read the whole thing. That will take me forever. It is so hard to decide. These two look really good as well. I think this is something that I'll come back to. I think I'm going to go with this one. I think it seems like it might be a quicker read, and it really does intrigue me. I like the idea of jumping between the Londons and being a messenger. I'm just not sure where it's going to go, and so I think I'm going to go with this one. So yeah, I want to thank those channels that I linked below, but I'm excited to give this a shot. Thank you for watching my first ever try a chapter video. I think they're really fun. I think they're fun to just kind of get a first taste of a book. And that is all I have for this video. Please consider liking, subscribing if you haven't, and just coming back to hear what I think of this book, of The Darker Shade of Magic. So I will talk to you all later. Have a good day. All right, bye.